Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the big matchup coming up here in Week 7 of this 2022 college football season. And this could be for the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Tennessee Vols. Huge matchup for both these teams coming up here in Week 7. You got, of course, Alabama, the dynasty of college football right now. And this team at 6-0 is very much on track to once again be a national contender. But in Week 7, they're taking on Tennessee, a team that's 5-0. They're undefeated, ranked 6th in the nation. And Tennessee is for real. This team is on the rise right now. And they are very much looking to put a dent in Alabama's playoff hopes. So definitely a crucial one, and definitely one that could have some long-term implications coming up here in Week 7. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Alabama beat Texas A&M 24-20 in their Week 6 matchup. So very close game there. Texas A&M went, toe-to-toe against Alabama last week. And, of course, the Crimson Tide dealing with a couple of big injuries. Of course, they had Milroe starting at quarterback instead of Bryce Young because Bryce Young got injured against Arkansas. So that's unfortunate for Alabama not being able to have him. But, that's going to be a key factor in this game. If Alabama can have Bryce Young in this matchup, which I expect him to, and it sounds like Alabama's expecting him to play in this matchup, that's going to be huge for the Crimson Tide here because, Milroe, he's a good quarterback, but going up against a Tennessee team that has got a very high-powered offense, you're going to need to score some points in this matchup if you want any chance of beating Tennessee. So, Crimson Tide, that's going to be a huge factor in this matchup in determining who's going to win it. But Alabama right now is 6-0. This team is clearly one of the best teams in the nation. They're ranked third, so they dropped a couple positions after Week 6. But, that's nothing to be concerned about because the top three teams in the nation between Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are far and away the best teams in the nation right now. As for Tennessee, they beat LSU 40-13 on the road last week, 25th ranked team in the nation in LSU. And Tennessee, once again, this team is for real. They are 5-0. They've got a very high-powered offense. Defensively, they've been very strong so far this season. Tennessee, this team is very deserving of being ranked in the top 6 right now. And this is a huge test for Tennessee. This team, I think, is very capable of giving Alabama a fight in this matchup, and potentially this could be the Vols' first time beating Alabama in what has been a very long time. Tennessee has not beaten Alabama in 15 years. It's been a very long time. Games will be on Saturday, October 15th in Knoxville, Tennessee. So the Vols have got the home field in this one. And our kickoff is 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Spread's going Alabama by 7.5. And that is your opening spread. So that could adjust over the course of the week. Alabama is favored by 7.5 here, over under 65.5. And the FPI going Alabama 69.8%. Series history, Alabama leads at 58-38. Once again, they've won 15 straight games against Tennessee. So, of course, Nick Saban going up against Tennessee, he has had a lot of success. This is an Alabama team that hasn't lost to Tennessee since 2006. So Alabama's got Tennessee's number, and that's something that you got to keep in mind here is that, Tennessee hasn't beaten Alabama in a long time. So, it's going to take a lot of – it's going to take a very solid, a very outstanding game out of Tennessee if they want a chance to knock off the Crimson Tide here. Once again, Alabama 15 straight games. That comes with no mistake. The Crimson Tide have had a lot of success in recent history against the Vols. Stat comparison for this one, Alabama 3rd in points per game so far this season, 5th in points allowed. They are 59th in passage games, 2nd in rush yards. And for yards allowed, 8th in passing, 6th in rushing. So a very solid team all around for Alabama. Of course, their weak spot statistically is in the passing game at 59th. But, of course, they didn't have much going for them in the passing game against Texas A&M. So that did have an effect for sure on the stats there. But all around, Alabama is, without a doubt, one of the top teams in the country. And they could be considered the best team in the country. And as for Tennessee, 2nd in points per game. So they are slightly higher than Alabama in that category. But they're 17th in points allowed. They're 7th in pass yards game, 21st in rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 123rd in passing and 7th in rushing. So that is a major outlier there in the pass yards allowed, being 123rd out of 131 FBS teams. So the passing defense, that is the secondary, that is an issue for Tennessee, allowing 307 yards a game there in that category. So especially if Bryce Young is back for Alabama, he's got a chance to have a lot of success against Tennessee in the passing game. So that's once again going to be a huge factor in this matchup if Bryce Young is going to be back or not. And quite honestly, that might just tell the prediction of this game right here is whether or not Bryce Young is back. If Young's back, Alabama's got a very good chance to win this one. But if not, I mean, Tennessee really does have a chance. Your recent matchups: Alabama beat Texas A&M 24-20. Of course, had a dominant win against Arkansas the week before, 49-26. Beat Vanderbilt 55-3. Beat Louisiana Monroe 63-7. And of course, beat Texas back in week 2, 20-19. As for Tennessee, they beat LSU 40-13. They beat Florida 38-33. Beat Akron 63-6. Of course, beat Pitt in overtime 34-27, and beat Ball State 59-10. So Tennessee has all around been solid. Of course, they had a close game against Pitt, close game against Florida, but they beat all those teams. They've beaten 3 ranked opponents so far this season, and that includes a very dominant win over LSU. So yeah, Tennessee is definitely for real. Your key points for this one: Alabama, close call, obviously, against Texas A&M last week. I mean, the Aggies they were that close to knocking off Texas A&M Alabama in that game. So that's something to keep in mind, even though Alabama still won the game in the end. They need Bryce Young back, though. There's no doubt. If last week's game was any clue, Alabama does need Bryce Young back if they want to be a true contender in this season. He's just that much of a key player for this team. And all around Alabama, though, either way, is outstanding on both sides of the ball. Tennessee, Hendon Hooker, he is emerging as an elite quarterback in college football, which is incredible once again. You look at Hendon Hooker when he was back at Virginia Tech. He was nothing more than a mediocre quarterback when he was at Virginia Tech. He transfers to Tennessee, and turns out, there was, if you remember back to when he first transferred to Tennessee, there was controversy and there was debate as to whether or not Joe Milton, the Michigan transfer quarterback, would start over Hendon Hooker. And look where we are now. Hendon Hooker is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns on the season. Hasn't thrown a pick in 5 games. And Tennessee has played some good teams. Hendon Hooker is a for real quarterback. And it's pretty incredible seeing his improvement over the years. Offensively, they're very strong. Defensively, they got potential. They're allowing 17 points a game. It's not just the offense. It's also the defense for Tennessee that has been so good this season. There's reason to believe that. Tennessee, this team was expected to be good this season, but for them to be this good is a bit surprising. The Vols are a team that I expected to be maybe 9-10 wins this season, but to see them, or maybe even 8-9, but to see them going at a pace that to definitely surpass that is definitely awesome for Tennessee. And this team, if they can beat Alabama here, they've got a chance to be a really a true college football playoff contender. With a win here for Tennessee, they're probably ranked 2nd or 3rd in the nation. Because that puts them at 6-0 with 4 ranked wins, including a win over Alabama. The Vols, they got a chance to really be a true national contender here. So that said, definitely a huge matchup coming up here in week 7. Let's get to the prediction here for this matchup between Alabama and Tennessee. And I'm going with the Crimson Tide. 38-34 is my predicted final score. This is a tough one, especially with Tennessee being at home. They got the home field advantage, and Tennessee is a tough place to play, especially when Knoxville is. They got a good football team in there. It's tough to play there, and so. This one, I went back and forth on several times, but I feel like if the Crimson Tide got Bryce Young back, which it looks like that's what's going to happen, especially going up against a Tennessee secondary that has allowed a lot of pass yards this season. Alabama, I feel like, is going to have their way offensively and get the win 30-34, but I think Tennessee scores plenty of points in this game. I think they put up 34, and we end up seeing a semi-shootout in this matchup. So I'm going to say 55% towards Alabama. Your over-under is 65.5. I'll take the over for this one, and Tennessee to cover the spread in the end. I think Tennessee puts up, once again, a great fight, but in the end, Alabama just too good of a team. Plus, you got to consider, too, Alabama's got Tennessee's number. They've beat them 15 straight times. Could that streak snap in this game? Very much so. This is probably the most likely game in 15 years where Tennessee could win, but I just think in the end, Alabama is simply the better team, and especially if Bryce Young is back. Now, if Bryce Young isn't back, that changes things, because I think Tennessee, I think they can take care of Milroe. And if Bryce Young isn't playing this matchup, I honestly probably will take Tennessee just with the home field advantage, with a high-powered offense in Tennessee. If they can score 30, which I think they definitely can, I just don't know if Alabama can compete to that level and score 30 points with Milroe at quarterback, who only scored 24 against Texas A&M last week. So with that said, that's going to wrap it up for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.